Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from group 7. Today we will discuss about material, goals, content, and sequencing. Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Bambang Tri Putra as a moderator, and the third speaker, and my partner.
My name is Hailun Linda as the first speaker.
My name is Dewi Sustianingsih as the second speaker.
We hope when you all watch this video, you will know about goals, content, and sequencing. And keep attention. Don't forget to watch this video until the end. And let's start the discussion.
The first material about goals and content. The content of language lesson should be carefully chosen to achieve specific goals. The goals of language lesson can focus on one or more of the following, like language, ideas, skill, or text, or discuss. Language consists of vocabulary, grammar, sentence patterns, or language function, and the ideas consist of topics, theme, or situation. Skill consists of reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and text or discourse consists of coherence, cohesion, and overall structure. 4 content choices can be led to operate on a learning effort. Setting smaller goals for various strengths or skills, subdivision of a course can be evaluable even if the course designer doesn't want to go into great detail. Okay, next, the units of progression. The unit of progression in a course are the fundamental component used to measure and evaluate student advancement. These units can vary depending on the course's focus. For language courses, there might be specific vocabulary words or proficiency levels, similar to those used in simplified readers. For topic-based courses, the units of progression would be the topic themselves, with progress measured by number of topics covered. The concept of progression in foreign language teaching has evolved significantly over time. Units of progression which guide the structure and pace of course can be categorized in 2 main types: a sequential example vocabulary levels and non-sequential example topic. Units of progression are essentially milestone or benchmark that measure learners' advancement through course or curriculum. They can be used in various ways to enhance the learning experience and ensure effective outcomes. The first unit of progression can be used to set targets and paths to those targets ordering in a course, like clear objectives. Units of progression provide clear framework for defining specific learning objectives. Each unit represents a step towards the overall course goal. Personalized learning paths, they can be tailored to individual learners' needs and pages, allowing for differentiated instruction. Motivational tools. By breaking down learning journey into manageable steps, unit of progression can boost learners' motivation and provide a sense of an accomplishment. The second unit of progression can be used to check the adequacy of selection and curriculum coherence. Unit of progression help ensure that the content is logically sequenced and that there are no gaps or redundancies in the curriculum. Alignment with learning outcomes. They verify that the selected content directly contributes to achieving the desired learning outcomes. Assessment of difficulty. Units of progression can be used to assess the appropriate level of challenge for learners at different stages of their development. The third, units of progression can be used to monitor and report on learner progress and achievement in the course, like tracking achievement. Unit of progression provides structure way to track learners' progress and identify areas where they might need additional support. Formative assessment. They can be used to administer formative assessment to assess learners' understanding and provide timely feedback. Progress reports. Units of progression can be incorporated into progress reports to communicate learners' achievement to parents, teachers, or other stakeholders. In essence, units of progression serve as valuable tool for effective curriculum design, instruction, and assessment. They provide clear roadmap for learners, ensuring that they stay on track and achieve their full potential. Next material, vocabulary. Research indicates that focusing on high-frequency vocabulary is crucial for language learners. The first 1,000 words account for a significant portion of written text, while the second 1,000 words contribute a smaller percentage. Academic texts also rely heavily on a specific set of high-frequency words. Nation suggests that teaching efforts should be prioritized strategies for dealing with and learning low-frequency vocabulary rather than focusing on memorizing them. He recommends using ratios like Westlake 90:53 and Couch-Era and Francis frequency counts 90:67 to identify the most frequent words in English. Additionally, Cockhead's list 2000 provides comprehensive list of academic vocabulary. Vocabulary sequencing in language courses can be largely based on frequency levels, similar to graded readers to Longman structure readers or Oxford Bookworm Library. The Copil courses provides an example consisting of 3 books covering a total of 2,500 words. It is important to apply sequencing vocabulary based on a lexical set or opposites, as this can hinder learning. Instead, learning should encounter the same vocabulary in various contexts across different course components.
This material is grammar. There are statistical data available on the frequency of different verb forms in English. This frequency count can be used to inform the selection and sequencing of items in a language course. The suggested items for stage 1 or basic level include imperative, don't plus them, simple present, verb plus to plus them, simple past, and past participle. Stage 2 introduces additional verb forms such as simple past neutral, past perfect, stem plus in three adjuncts, and various modal verbs. Items for stage 3 are less frequent and often learned for receptive use. Together, stage 1 and stage 2 verb forms make up 75.6% of all verb forms. Stage 2 forms appear more than once every 2 pages, but less than once per page. Stage 3 items are less common and depend on the type of material the learner will read. Some items, like verb plus to plus base verb, are taught early because they help learners meet immediate language needs. Many courses focus on grammar, but they often select and sequence items based on convenience rather than their usefulness. As a result, courses may include a mix of highly useful and rarely used items. Less frequent items can be introduced as memorized phrases rather than focusing on their structure. The next material is function. There isn't a standard list of language functions with frequency data. The most common list is from Van Eyck and Alexander, 1980, which includes the first is sharing and asking for factual information. The second is sharing and asking about intellectual opinions. The third is sharing and asking about emotional opinions. The fourth is sharing and asking about moral opinions, and persuading people to do things, and the last is socializing. According to Dobson, 1979 offers a similar list, and the Council of Europe 2001 expanded it to sharing and asking for factual information, sharing and asking about attitudes, persuading people, socializing, organizing conversation, and the last is fixing communication problems. Some courses use this function as the main focus, with each lesson dedicated to a different function or set of functions. However, many so-called functional courses actually focus more on grammar, with lessons structured around different grammatical rules described in functional terms. A problem with functional-based courses is that teachers might introduce multiple ways to express the same function. For example, different ways to review something. This can confuse learners and make it harder for them to remember the expressions. To avoid this, it's better to start with the most useful way to express each function. The next is discourse. Discourse-based units are more common in pre-university courses, where students explore different types of texts like stories, reports, and arguments, while elements of spoken discourse, such as how speakers leave out parts of sentences or negotiate meaning, might be introduced early. They aren't usually the main focus of a course. According to Bieber's research 1990 shows that different types of text use language features in different ways. This means that course designers should ensure that genres covered in the course match those students will encounter outside of the course. For example, if students will need to work with informational reports in their studies, the course should include a lot of practice with this type of text, not just narratives. Bieber's text types can be used as a checklist to ensure a course covers the necessary genres and language features effectively. The next is skills, sub-skills, and strategies. Some language courses use skills like reading or speaking, and sub-skill smaller components within skill as units of progression. There are three main ways to define sub-skills. The first is based on activities within a skill, like transactional speaking versus instructional speaking. The second is based on process of the skill, like stage operating, and the last is based on levels of cognitive activities, like Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy, or Bloom 1956, divided cognitive activity into 6 levels of increasing complexity. The first is knowledge, comprehensions, applications, analysis, synthesis, and the last is evaluations. These levels have often been applied to the construction of reading comprehension activities. There are now comprehensive lists of strategies for language learning and language use. Overall, the text emphasizes that effective language courses should carefully consider the use of skills, sub-skills, and strategies to ensure that learners are equipped with the tools they need for successful language expressions.
We'll explain about the ideas. A good language course not only enhances learners' command of the language, but also expose them to ideas that aid language learning and are valuable beyond the classroom. The content can include various forms of ideas. The first one about imaginary events, engaging learners in fictional scenario of adventures involving either themselves or native speakers. 2. Academic subjective, focusing on specific discipline like linguistic or field relevant to the learners. needs such as agriculture, tourism, or comforting. Third, survival needs, addressing practical topics suggested by learners or identified by teachers, like solving medical visit, getting a driver's license, and social interaction. In the fourth, interesting fact, covering intriguing topics such as scientific discoveries or environmental issues. And the last part about culture, exploring different aspects of culture, including literature, social norms, word meanings, and the appropriate as a language, while being mindful of potential conflict with local cultures. These ideas can be evaluated based on their effectiveness in the classroom and their relevance about usefulness outside of it. Okay, the next about text-based syllabus. With the rise of communicate language teaching in the 1970s, there was a growing focus on using language to convey message, leading to increased interest in classroom text. This shift highlight the limitation of many so-called communicate courses, which still follow traditional sequence of language form. As a result, text-based syllabus, which prioritize text as the central organizing principle of language course, gain attention, especially following the work of Prabhu in 1987. Despite this interest, text-based syllabus remain uncommon. Tasks themselves are widely used in language teaching. A key question in this approach is defining that constitutes a text. While there are many definitions, one practical and widely accepted definition by Gate and Collegius describe text as an activity that requires learners to use language meaningful to achieve an objective. This approach emphasizes the importance of understanding and using language to successfully complete text as demonstrated in the Prabhu's work. Next, about sequencing the content in a course. When organizing the content of a course, lesson, or unit can be sequenced in the two main ways. The first, linear development. In this approach, each lesson builds upon the learning from previous lesson. The material in one lesson depends on the understanding of the content from earlier lesson, creating a structured progression. This method often starts with a simple concept and gradually moves toward more complex topics. And second, about modular arrangement. In this approach, each lesson is independent of the others. Lesson can be complete in any order, and not all lessons need to be covered. This method allows for flexibility as a learner can focus on specific modules based on their needs or interests without being constrained by a fixed sequence. The choice between this approach depends on the goals of the course and the needs of the learners. The next about linear approach to sequencing. In the most language course, content is organized using a linear development approach where learning starts with simple frequent items that serve as a foundation for more complex topics introduced later. However, this approach has several disadvantages such as not accommodation, absenteeism, differences in learning style and speed, and the necessity for material revision. To address this issue, various linear progression model incorporate repetition and reinformation. This material about a spiral curriculum. The spiral line in the curriculum represent the ongoing progress with the material in a language curriculum. This called involve the first is a lexical set. This material introducing a basic vocabulary first, with the less common word add in later iteration. And the second, grammatical patterns. This about starting with high frequency grammatical structure and elaboration on them in the subsequent lesson. And the third, language function. Presenting fundamental function first, followed by less common alternative later. And the fourth, genre. Introduce simple examples of the genre early on the progressing to longer, more complex example as the course continues. Other variations of linear sequencing, such as metric, model, revision unit, and field approach, also aim to incorporate a repetition to enhance learning retention. And last material about a modular approach to sequencing. The text describe a modular approach to course sequencing, contrasting it with a linear approach. The summary of course design steps includes defining goals, deciding on the unit of progression, choosing and sequencing content, and ensuring coverage against other items. In a modular approach, a course is divided into the independent non-linear unit or modules. It's complete on its own without requiring prior knowledge of other modules. This method is often paired with criterion references testing with a high mastery standard. Language course can be modular side by skills like listening and speaking, or by language function like solving and travel. Courses may also be divided into the core and elective modules or levels. Okay guys, thanks for your attention. Thank you for watching this video until the end. We are from Group 7 and bye bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.